Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa.
Homage to the blessed, noble, and perfectly enlightened one.
Homage to the blessed, noble, and perfectly enlightened one.
Namo saranto suchedoye alahari samya sambuddhoshe.
Namo saranto suchedoye alahari samya sambuddhoshe.
无上甚深微妙法，百千万劫难遭遇。我今见闻得受持，愿解如来真实义。Supreme and wondrous Dharma, subtle and profound, rarely is encountered, even through billions of eons. But now we see and hear it and accept it reverently. May we truly understand the Buddha's actual meaning. 师父上人，各位师兄，阿弥陀佛, Venerable Master, Dharma friends, welcome to our Sutra lecture today. My name is Heng. I'm glad you have joined me. We are looking into the Flower Garland Sutra, the chapter called The Praises in a Palace of the Suyama Heaven. It's chapter 20. Today is Sunday, October 23rd, here in Queensland, Australia. Saturday, the 22nd, where you are, I trust. I kicked that microphone once, so thanks for setting it straight. I hope my microphone is doing as well. All right, we are going to continue with our protocol for beginning a sutra in a formal way. And what we do is we request spiritual presence. We do an invocation. And it's done in Chinese, currently, to a melody. Welcome to join, please do. Namo Tang Guang Fo Hua Yan Jing Hai En Hai Wei O Pu Sa Namo Tang Guang Fo Hua Yan Jing Hai En Hai Wei O Pu Sa Namo Tang Guang Fo Hua Yan Jing Because we are in Australia and here in southeastern Queensland, we would like to acknowledge country and say that the Kombumerri people of the Ugambi language group practice spiritual connections to land, to living beings, and to all creation here in this location for tens of thousands of years. So today we acknowledge them as traditional custodians of this land. We acknowledge them with gratitude, with sorrow, with hope that we can move to a place of justice and partnership together. We acknowledge their wisdom and their elders, past, present, and emerging, and acknowledge all First Nations peoples whose sovereignty was never ceded. That's how we say it. All right. That's a noble and elegant way to begin a public gathering here in Australia. And when I'm back in California, I plan to do the same thing, only the First Peoples will be different. Saraswati, I'm going to do something, here we are, something a little different. Let's see if we can find it here. There we go. Now, what is this? We're going to add one protocol item here. We keep stacking them up, and pretty soon our protocol is going to be longer than the talk. One of my instructions from my teacher, Shangshen Xiahua Lao Shang, Venerable Master, Chan Master Shenhua, also known as Tripitaka Master Shenhua, was he said, if you want to make your Dharma talk or your Sutra lecture kind of special, he said, you can praise Biancai Tiannu, the goddess Saraswati, known as the goddess of eloquence. And she will, if you're sincere, she will help you out. She'll bless your lecture, she said. And I thought, oh, okay. Well, I didn't pick up on that until later, because there was another method that was special for the Avatamsaka. And this Biancai Tiannu, the goddess of eloquence, the goddess Saraswati, that was extra. So I've been learning about it more, and let me show you Saraswati. We've got images of her. Here we are. Let's see here. Can we use that one? Maybe we'll use that one. Okay, here is one version of Saraswati. Let me find another one here. Check into I'll share my screen as soon as I find the image that I want here. Okay, let's do this. Here we are. So Saraswati is known, I think, more often in the Hindu tradition. Here is a good image of Saraswati to share. Here she is. You'll notice she has 4 arms. She has a musical instrument in her lap, and that's a veena, V-E-E-V-E-E-N-A. And she's got a sutra in one of her hands and recitation beads in another hand. And she is, the one thing that's missing here is her bird. Where's her bird? Maybe that's over her head. She is accompanied by a hamsa, a swan or a goose, spiritual bird that flies very high and lands only in pure places like the lake Anavatapta, the lake at the top of the world with pure water. So this is Saraswati. And the Buddhas, although she's known in the Hindu pantheon, here she is again, the Buddhists also recognize her as a Tianran, as a deva. There's her bird. This is a peacock in this case, but that's her. She's got a bird with her. She plays a musical instrument. She's got her beads and her sutra. And what's the deal with Saraswati? Well, she has been honored in the world. This is a lovely image of Saraswati right here. Here she is. Kids' crayons. There she is. I like that one best. She's flying on her hamsa, her goose, and her swan. And she's got her implements, sutra, beads, musical instrument, and a flower. And is known to be the patron saint of all learning, all kinds of music and arts. So if I was a violin student, if I was learning how to play violin, I would want to know about Saraswati. If I was a poet, I would want to know about Saraswati. Of course, music and language. She is the one who helps you when you need to be eloquent. So 4 kinds of eloquence of Buddhism includes, right, eloquence of phrasing, eloquence of dharma, eloquence of meaning, and then the eloquence of joy in speech. So what I found recently, as I say, I've been doing my homework on Saraswati, was I found a praise. And this praise was originally registered through Tibetan language, but it comes from the same source, and as our Mahayana and Hindu awareness of Saraswati, Biensai Tianyu. And I excerpted a couple verses from it, which I really like. Here we go. Ready? So this is still our protocol. This is our opening protocol. Here we go. Homage to you, glorious goddess Saraswati. Your mastery over speech is renowned throughout the world. You've transcended the three knowledges of the sages. All this is a result of your vast practices. Mother of knowledge, your nature is devoid of concepts. The flag of your reputation flutters in the winds of joy. Like wanting to draw a picture in the sky, your attributes are hard to comprehend. Your qualities are boundless. Help us to be brave as we strive along the path to awakening. Let our tongues be quick, our words be righteous. Endow us with treasuries of knowledge and speech unobstructed. Allow us to achieve the full eloquence of all the well-gone ones, the Buddhas. Namaha Saraswati Devi, Namaha Saraswati Devi, Namaha Saraswati Devi. Here we go. That's our prelude to our sutra today. This is going to be a fun lecture because we're talking about skandas. And before I knew this was a Sanskrit word, it sounded like a Swedish drinking game. Skål, skandas. It's not. It's a Sanskrit word which means the factors of personality, according to our version. It's, I don't want to jump ahead of myself. I'll let the sutra introduce us, and then we'll explain it in everyday language. Okay? Are we ready for that? Here's our sutra text right here. And our bodhisattva, his name is Li Lin Pusa. Strength forest. There it is. That's the character of strength. It's the picture of somebody in a field reaching down to cut rice, pull rice out. Strength. Two trees, forest. Lin, and that's Bodhisattva, Pusa. Okay, this is still the verses. I haven't told you where we are. For beginners, for people who are not familiar with the context here, let me come back, and there we go. I was showing you without showing you. I didn't have my screen shared. Okay. So we're in the Avatamsaka Sutra, Flower Garland, Huayan Jing, chapter 20. The Buddha is going to explain something called the 10 practices, Dharma. It's a big teaching. Lots of instructions for bodhisattvas and wannabe bodhisattvas. And he hasn't begun because there's formality and protocol that has to happen before the Buddha speaks. So he's come to the heaven of the Suyama palace, the palace of the Suyama heaven. This is the heaven in the desire realm. The Buddha's been invited, he accepted. The Buddha's come, set himself in the right place. He was praised by the God in charge, and the Buddha was happy to be properly welcomed. But then 10 bodhisattvas showed up, led by one bodhisattva whose name was Gongdo Lin, Forest of Merit and Virtue. And that bodhisattva led his other 9 colleagues in, and they all bowed, they all offered incense, walked around the Buddha, then took their seats and crossed their legs in full lotus, and it specified that they were sitting there in full lotus. So Gongdo Lin came down, the leader, did it again, walked around the Buddha, bowed, knelt down, and started to sing praises, 12 of them. He finished, and he was followed sequentially by all the other Bodhisattvas, one by one. They all took their turn to praise the Buddha, and they all said different things. It's really interesting how each one of them, it's more than just, oh, the Buddha's great. They said that, for sure. But they were more detailed. They said the Buddha's wisdom is great, his compassion is great, his knowledge is boundless, his ability to teach. He always says the right thing at the right time, and we always get it when he says it. Like, that's the Buddha. And it always helps. It's the right medicine for the illness. But they don't always just do that. You know what else they do? They go into Dharma. They start like, we've had the last couple teachers, the last couple bodhisattvas have been talking about very unusual, very specific things that they wanted to share, which is how the mind will play tricks on you if you don't understand it. All things in the world are ultimately the same, but the mind gets stuck on distinguishing, 分别, 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 right? Cutting it into smaller and smaller pieces, and we'll go wrong. We'll never get enlightened that way. Thank you, Buddha, for showing us that there is a deeper level where all things are the same. So they're praising his Dharma, his teachings. Okay? That's where we are. Our next Bodhisattva, Forest of Strength, he's coming up. And he's going to talk about what's on his mind that he thinks the Buddha deserves to be praised for. Are we ready? Here we go. 尔时莅临菩萨成佛为力普观十方而说颂言. Then Bodhisattva Forest of Strength received the Buddha's awe-inspiring strength, contemplated everywhere in all directions, and chanted the following verses in praise. Okay. If this were a movie, if this were on video, on YouTube, or wherever you were looking, Vimeo, you would see this Bodhisattva get up, walk around, kneel down, and you don't see him contemplating, but he is. He's scanning in all directions, and he's ready to speak. And he's chanting, so it's musical. There's a musical quality to it. He goes, 一切众生皆皆在三世中，三世诸众生悉在悉诸无云中. He wouldn't make mistakes. He would do it right. Okay. The realms of all living beings exist among the three periods of time. All beings in the three periods of time exist entirely amid the five skandas. There it is. There's our word, skanda. Let's look at the Chinese. Here we go, one by one. Ready? 一切 all. 众生 multitude born from a multitude of conditions. Realm. All living beings, sentient beings in their realm. 皆 all entirely, same as 一切 here. 在 exist within 3 三 世 time periods 中 amid. So past, present, and future. All the entire realm of living beings is contained within the past, present, and future. So far, so good? To repeat, 三世, same as this up here, 3 periods of time, 诸 all, we got 一切, we got 皆, we have 诸, all of which mean all. So all 3 periods of time, 众生, same as these 2 words. So all beings whatsoever in the past, present, and future, 悉住无云中, entirely abide within 5 heaps, shadows, collections, components, 中 amid. So that word's the same as that word. Those words are the same as those words. That word, that phrase is the same as that phrase. Okay, got it? So a lot of repetition here because he's saying something very special. He's saying, the realms of all beings. You want to know about living beings? Well, they lived in the past, they're living now, or they will live in the future. Yeah, no argument. And furthermore, in those 3 periods of time, all those beings have another location, which is the 5 skandas, the 5 components, or heaps, or collections, different names for that word. Okay, now, this would be the time for me to say, well, what are the 5 skandhas? Not going to do it yet. Not going to do it yet. What I'm going to do is, I'm going to go to the next phrase, the next strophe? No, the next verse, and stitch them together, because what he is saying to us requires 2 verses in order to get the whole idea. Okay? So let's go to the next one, and then we'll come back. Here we go. Ready? 诸云也为本，诸也心为本，心法犹如幻，世间亦如是。Skandas take karma as their basis. Karma takes the mind as its basis. The dharmas of the mind are like illusions. So too is everything in the world. Oh, he's talking about something much bigger than what we thought at the start. So let's look at the Chinese. I was busy showing you every word and I wasn't sharing my screen. Sorry about that. I will learn to do that right one of these eons. Here we go. So let's repeat. All beings realm entirely in 3 time periods. 3 time periods every living being live entirely amid 5 skandhas. All skandhas, karma as basis. So the skandhas, we'll get there. I'll tell you what they are in a minute. Karma is the basis of all the skandhas. All karma, mind as basis. So karma is the foundation of all the skandhas. The mind is the foundation of all karma. Dharmas of mind just like illusion. Worlds are also that way. Oh, so wait a minute. This whole thing was a statement about the world is like an illusion? Yes. Took a long time to get there. He's saying the world is... Now, let's stitch this together. This, I don't know, these 2 verses are so powerful. I wrote a song about this at one point. I pitched it. I didn't hang on to it. But I want to do it again. Because look at the argument here. This is a circular kind of argument that says something really profound. Starts out by saying living beings. That's to say, birds, butterflies, fish, beings, your relationships, your grandparents, your kids, amoeba, and whales. All living beings, all the different categories of living beings, have lived, are living now, or will live in the future. Okay? Furthermore, those living beings that have lived in the past, that are living now, live in the future, all come together because of these things called skandhas, and there are 5 of them. But there's more. Skandhas, these things, only arise because of what people do. And what people do, the things that we do, comes from the mind, or even you could say thoughts in the mind. However, those thoughts in the mind, they're just illusions. They don't really exist. And so the entire world is an illusion. It's like, oh, that's worthy of Rumi, that's real poetry. Isn't that something? That's so cool. Okay, hold on. let's see here. I'm going to go to, where's my program? This is dum-da-dum. Let's see here. There it is right there. All right. So, I need, let's see here, new document. There we go. All right. World as illusion. Okay, world as illusion. There we go. Okay, let's make this bigger. I can't do full screen because I've got to keep but I can make it bigger. There we go, zoom that. World as illusion. So how does it work? Let's shrink this down a little bit. This I think is worth playing with, and I haven't done it in advance. I wanted to do it with everybody. So, all living beings. All sentient, let's do sentient beings. All sentient beings, now I'm sharing. Okay, good. All sentient beings. There we go. And we'll hold that. There they are. 3 periods of time. We'll do it the way the Sutra does. 3 periods of time. So we know that's past, present, and future. Okay? All sentient beings, how do we do it? There we go. All sentient beings come from the 3 periods of time. Furthermore, all sentient beings live in the 5 skandas. There we go. Okay, past, present, and future. Oops, come back here. All right. Now, skandas come from karma. There it is. So that means, let's see, that has to go there. Oh, there. Skandas come from karma. Karma comes from the mind. Or thoughts. They share the same word. So, let's see. 5 skandhas come from karma. Karma comes from thoughts. Thoughts are illusions. Illusory. There you go. And worlds. Illusory. Let's see. We need to bring this back to our title. Worlds as illusion. Okay. All sentient beings live in the 3 periods of time. All sentient beings live in the 5 skandhas. The 5 skandhas come from karma. Karma comes from the mind. The mind's thoughts are all illusory. Thoughts are all illusory. Illusions. That is to say, you can't grab them. They come and they go. You find a thought. And yet, they're so important. You know, oh, I'm angry today. Bad mood. There's a thought. Find it. I feel it. Right? So, yeah. So, anyway, this is our first 2 verses by Bodhisattva Li Lin, Forest of Strength. And he gets to worlds are 2. Thoughts are all illusions. Worlds are also illusory. Okay, now tell that to somebody who's got COVID. They'll say, I feel terrible. Well, it's just an illusion. Oh, thanks a lot. I think I'll go get baptized. I don't like your dharma. So he used a lot of nonsense. So, and yet, he's absolutely right. This is fascinating praise of the Buddha, isn't it? That's just, I don't know. Okay, we'll hang on to this. We'll call this our test case. This is put that on the desktop. This is world as illusion. Okay, we'll hang on to that and come back to it. So, what's a skanda? This is a teaching from the Buddha that is one of the most unique among world's religions. Nobody described humanity the way the Buddha did. I went looking for the skandas in other religions, and what it points to is, who am I, first of all? Who are you? And where's the soul? Big questions. These are basic questions. Where's the soul? Where's that invisible but important part that makes you uniquely you? What makes your daughter uniquely daughter? Why is Ellie different from her brother? She's different, but we don't know quite why, and yet she is. Okay, why are you, what drew you to your spouse when you saw your wife, you saw your husband, and just said, that's the one? There was something there. What was it? Okay, the Buddha had a unique answer to that question, and we're going to look into it. Skandhas are two things. Body, that is to say material, earth, air, fire, and water. Earth is the solid parts, fire is the warmth, water are the liquid parts, the wind is the movement, the hollow spaces that allows sound to reach my ears and allows words to come from my mouth. And every atom that makes up, let's say, my blood has more space in it than matter in it, interestingly. So there's something empty inside it, so there's emptiness throughout that last element. The feng, the wind, that's the space that allows things to move. Okay, that's called the rupa skanda, the si yun, the form skanda, the material part. And everybody's got one. When that comes along, you live, you exist, and somebody who's investigating the skandhas could get right into the middle of the abortion debate. Not that I'm recommending you do, because you'll go crazy. But when is a fetus a being? When is in mother's womb, when is that a person? That's a big, big, big debate. So that's what we're talking about, is when you materialize your life, does your life begin then, or does it begin at birth, et cetera, et cetera. So we'll postpone that discussion for now, but we're providing material for that conversation to go on. Now, that's just one of 5 skandhas. What are the other 4? The other 4, according to the Buddha, as he was describing this important question about who is really inside there, who am I? He said, in the mind part of the 5 skandhas, there is 4 things. There's what he called Vedana. And Vedana is feelings often, shou yun. So there's si yun, that's the body, the material part. But then the immaterial part, the mind part, is shou yun, and that's Vedana. Vedana is 2 things. It's both sensation, so I felt that. I felt tap. I'm sitting on a chair, I can feel it under my body. I can feel the temperature of the air in the room. I can feel the moisture because we're in the middle of a big storm at the moment. rainstorm. And those are all sensations. So touch and temperature and pressure, pleasant sensation, unpleasant sensation, neutral sensation. However, there's another side of the Vedana skanda, which is also emotion. So they call them the qi qing, xi nu, xi nu, ai ju, ai wu yu. The 7 ghosts, 7 emotions: joy, anger, sorrow, fear, love, hate, desire. From the Buddhist point of view, desire is an emotion. So, okay, there's also, there are various other lists of emotions. Xi nu, ai le, right? That's the standard Confucian one, was happiness, anger, xi nu, love, let's see, sorrow and joy. Xi nu, ai le. So, the thing about emotion is it goes from sensation to a little bit of conception. You think about it too. You love that thing. You hate that thing. You are afraid of that thing. There's a thought involved, which takes us to that third skanda, xiang, right? Which is samjñā in Sanskrit. So there's si, there's shou, there's xiang. The third skanda is ideation, the pictures in your mind. The Buddha described them like the tide at the beach. If you go over to Surfer's Paradise, not far from here, and watch the waves come in, and today I would not recommend it because it's storming today, you'll see that wave comes in, breaks up on the beach. Oh, look, there's another one. That wave comes in behind it, breaks up on the beach, just like the previous one. Oh, guess what? One more. There's another one coming. Hits the beach and breaks up, right? Those waves come like this. And the thoughts in our mind are the same. Anybody who's been through some sort of unconscious experience, some sort of a coma, will report that even though you weren't able to speak because you fainted or you were under anesthetic, there's still activity in the mind. It's not connecting in the same way to the wiring inside, but the mind is still firing. The neurons are still doing this thing. That's the way the thinking skanda happens. People who have near-death experiences where externally they look like they're dead, but inside, when they come back and tell you what happened, they can say their thoughts were just going on and on. And it's like the thoughts think us. The thoughts are like a verb, and they think us. So people report, at the last minute, before they went off in this tunnel of light, going towards the light, moving, they say, you know what I was thinking of? I was thinking of ice cream. What kind of flavor of ice cream? Or I was thinking, oh, by golly, I forgot to cancel my appointment at the optometrist. These thoughts just go and go, one after the other, waves on the beach. Each one of us has this function, this skanda, this ability to think these things. It's part of being alive in a body and mind. And that's only the third one. You still with me? Are we still? It's like, stop talking for a while, will you? good to have a musical chaser. We've only done 3 skandas. We've got 2 more to go. The Buddha said these are basic. This is basic Dharma. And that's why it's fun today to be able to unpack these, because they're so unique the way the Buddha described them, and yet they're so important. For anybody who's ever asked the question, who am I? Where did I come from? What's different about me than my little brother? Right? So, all right. How important are they? Well, if you had to name a single sutra that is the most popular, I guess you'd say, or the most widely recognized, it would likely, if you ever had to count them up and vote, probably people would vote for the Heart Sutra, the Heart of Prajna Paramita. Shinjing, right? And how does the Heart Sutra begin? Guanzizai Pusa. Xingshan Boro Boro Mido Shi. Zhao Jian Wu Yun Jie Kong Du Yi Ku. When the Bodhisattva Avalokiteshvara was practicing the profound Prajna Paramita, she looked down from on high and beheld the 5 heaps and saw that they were all empty and crossed over suffering and difficulty. How about that? 5 heaps, 5 skandas. The opening of the Heart Sutra goes right there first and connects them to, interestingly, everybody's favorite, Guan Shi Yin Pusa. Namo Guan Shi Yin Pusa, Bodhisattva. So, if you can learn today the 5 skandhas, you will have a piece of absolutely genuine, diamond-hard, unbreakable Buddha Dharma, the Buddha's wisdom, as he looked at humans and fish and mosquitoes and said, this is what I see. This is who you really are. And who am I? And he said, it's all empty. It's an illusion, and so is the world. There's our Bodhisattva. Okay, number 4. What's number 4? Remember, we got material, that's the body. Then we got 4 more with the mind. First is feelings and sensations. Second, feelings, sensations. Third is thinking, samjña. Number 4, this skanda is so, I don't know, that the Buddha could name this is so cool. It's called samskara skanda. It's called xing yun. Xing. The same one as pronounced hung when it's practices, but this is a different use of that word. And the samskaras, this is the hardest one to name. Sometimes people call it activities. Other times, what are some of the other names for the samskara? They call it, let's see, the forms, feelings, activities. Sometimes called the, what's another name for samskara skanda? Give me a moment here. Translations of it are, it's called activities here, concepts, biases, prejudices, habits, autonomic processes. All of these are in that 4th skanda. Metabolism, aging, right? Those are all part of this last skanda. Number 4, the 4th skanda. Okay, here's what it is. We've had physical things of the body. Then we have 4 with the mind. First is feelings, sensations. Second, in the mind, is thinking, which is like waves hitting the beach. Thoughts rising and falling, rising and falling, rising and falling in the mind. But then sometimes those thoughts get solidified. They get layered in and don't move anymore. They become what? They become a prejudice. They become a bias. I'm biased towards that idea. They become a habit. They become a concept. And you can see it's the 3rd skanda now gone deep. So it's the deeper structures of the mind. What is one? Language. Where does language live? Is it a thought? Is it a feeling? No, it's a system of thinking. It's a deeply rooted, stable facet of your deeper mind. Okay? And furthermore, it has a second function, which is that process. That was the word I was looking for. It's activities or process. That the samskara can also be process. What is it process? Your breathing operates just fine all by itself. Your digestion, right? Extracting energy out of nutriments. What else? It's heartbeat. It's metabolism. All these different functions working in there to keep you going. That's the fourth skanda. Okay, we good? That's number 4. So, body, form, they call it, rupa, then feelings, thinking, activities, consciousness, and activities or concepts. Then, number 5 is consciousness itself. Consciousness itself. And this one is glorious, because here is where the Buddha Dharma is pushing science hardest. What is consciousness? There's an entire branch of science. It borders psychology and physics together, which is looking into consciousness and having a hard time with it, because consciousness seems arbitrary. It seems sloppy, unscientific. Prove it. Prove consciousness. Well, there's lots of ways to do it, and the Buddha has been describing consciousness for 2,500 years with a whole variety of empirical tests. And the fact that we are now, I'm using language which you are discerning because of consciousness. All you have to do is switch the language over, and suddenly consciousness goes, what? 今、日本語ができます。わかりますか？いいえ、全然ダメ。わかりません。はいよ。本当に。So you switch it a little bit, and then suddenly, where'd it go? Consciousness is not discriminating effectively at that moment. So yes, the Buddha has been talking about consciousness. And the thing is, honest scientists who are not invested in keeping their paradigm, well-funded with research grants, are able to say, yeah, consciousness is fascinating, and we're behind coming up with a meter, an implement to capture it, to be able to document it. But they're working on it. And the Mind Life Institute that His Holiness and others have been working on, where practitioners dialogue with scientists, this is an ongoing effort. So it's really cutting edge, and it's hard because it seems to be unscientific to say that consciousness cannot be measured, and yet it is at work right this minute. It definitely exists, but we can't name it or own it. We can't get a double-blind test to prove it, so we're stuck, right? Consciousness doesn't work with reductionism, where you can tell the existence of the largest by identifying the smallest. It defies that kind of methodology, and yet who would say that consciousness isn't very much a part of reality? Okay, now, the interesting thing is, Buddhists are of many different minds about the existence of consciousness in all of us. Are there 6 or are there 8? In the Pali-based discussion, the Abhidharma, there are only 6 consciousnesses, and they're all within the 5th skanda. But when you get to the Mahayana, they say, no, and actually there's two more. And that's fascinating. So I bumped my head into this conversation when I was co-teaching a class at the seminary, Graduate Theological, in Berkeley. And I was co-teaching with Bhante Shiluimala, who is a much beloved favorite teacher at GTU. Everybody loves Bhante. And he is a masterful interpreter of Buddha Dharma for people who will only take this one course their whole life, Intro to Buddhism, right? And he's able to make it approachable and friendly, and he's a Sri Lankan bhikkhu who I think was ordained at age 8 as a novice, and then he's been a monk his whole life. Wonderful teacher. So, and also Bhante is a monk who Master Hua invited to join all of our ordinations for, I think, the last 11 times. Bhante has been on the panel of masters who certify our Mahayana monks. So Master Hua does multi-yana ordinations. That's part of his intra-faith legacy. So here I was teaching a class with Bhante, and we had a class full of probably 20 different students there from all different disciplines and different denominations and faiths. And so it came time to talk about the 5 skandhas, to talk about the Buddha's analysis of personhood and the soul and all. And so I said, yes, well, we've got form, we've got feelings, we've got thoughts, we've got activities or processes, and then we have consciousness, and there are 8. And Bhante said, oh no, only 6, no 8, no, there's no proof of the 8th. You know, like, oops, well, according to my sources, Bhante, oh no. You know, so it's like, nope, don't go there. So that's one of the few places where Mahayana and Theravada have, but the fact that basic Dharma is looking at consciousness is true to the Buddha's instructions, the Buddha's, not his instructions, his own explanations of what it means to be in a body, to be alive. What is consciousness? Shi Yun. So we have Si, Shou, Xiang, Xing, Shi. It's the 5th skandha that we're talking about. And it goes like this. Consciousness, what does it do? It tells difference. It knows red from green. It knows soprano from bass. It knows sweet from sour. It knows warm from cold, right? And it knows you from your sister. That's consciousness. In the senses, there's eye consciousness that can tell the difference in sights. There's ear consciousness, tells the difference in sounds. There's tongue consciousness, tells the difference in flavors. There's nose consciousness, tells the difference in scent. There's physical consciousness. It tells pressure or sharp or soft, sharp or smooth, right? Rough or smooth, sharp or dull, I guess. But then the Buddha said there's 2 more. There is a transmitting consciousness known as the 7th. Oh, I left out one, left out the important one. Mind number 6. So the 6th consciousness looks after the first 5, eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body. The mind, said the Buddha, is like a file clerk in your office who gets all the reports, gets all the emails, gets all the phone calls, and keeps it all straight. All of the input from the eyes, the ears, so the sights and the sounds, the smells, the tastes, the sensations of touch, all go to the 6th, mind consciousness. And the mind consciousness keeps them all straight. Bhante stops there. The Theravada Pali-based description stops there. The Mahayana version which, by the way, anybody who investigates Buddhism in China, Xuanzang Dashi, Master Xuanzang, the pilgrim who went to India to bring the sutras back, he was especially interested in Vijnanavadan, consciousness only. And the materials that he brought back from Nalanda University created the Weishi school, the consciousness-only school, which became, so powerful in China and reformulated Buddhism for generations. So that is where this idea of 8 consciousnesses is really grounded. Okay, how are we doing? Number 7, 5 skandhas. Skandha number 5, consciousness, has 8 consciousnesses. Number 6 was the mind. Number 7 is a transmitter. It's like a drawbridge. Bridge is up, and you're not experiencing, no karma there. The bridge goes down, and the 6th consciousness, that file clerk, that mind consciousness, takes all the senses registered from eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, and sends them over the drawbridge into what is known as the alaya consciousness, alaya vijnana. This is the storehouse consciousness. It's where we, as in a human body, we as humans, store every experience we've ever had. Not just in this body, but all bodies that we have had from life after life. Every time we sneezed, every time we laughed, every time we watched our favorite program, every time we scolded somebody with anger, every time we took a bite, every time we came out of mother's womb and got our name and launched a new life, every one of those sense experiences is registered in the 8th consciousness, the storehouse. So how amazing is that description? And furthermore, that's where karma lives. So who knows whether I told a lie or I didn't tell a lie? Is it God? His eye is on the sparrow, and I know he watches me. Who knows whether I lied or not? Well, the answer is, I do. Just right back behind my eyes here in some plane, if it's here's where it lives, that consciousness is taking down perfectly, without distortion, without error, every single thing I do, say, or think. It's registered like with the clarity of a photographic image, clarity of a mirror in my 8th consciousness. Now, that's consciousness only. And somehow, I don't know why the Theravada has trouble with that, because it's the most clear, elegant explanation of how karma works. So, that 5th skandha is involved with all of this. And we could probably talk for the next month and not exhaust this idea, this concept, this principle that the Buddha taught about how karma works. Because repentance is also possible because of this 8th storehouse consciousness. And samadhi has to do with when we practice Chan. We do a Chan meditation for a week. They say Da Qi, to hit the 7th. We strike up the 7th. Does it mean 7 days in the week? We hit each other for a week? Well, it feels like that sometimes. But what we're doing is we are using that Hua Tou, the meditation topic. Who's reciting the Buddha's name, typically, or another one? Who's dragging this corpse around? That's another one. What did you look like before your mother gave birth to you? those are various Huatou meditation topics. What they're doing is they're working on that seventh transmitting consciousness to disable its function so that the seeds of the eighth consciousness can come back to conscious awareness, the sixth consciousness. And at that point, you can actually empty out. You can quicken the seeds that are there, these bijas, these seeds of karma that will come ripe when the time is ready. They're like seeds in a garden. And this mind consciousness is holding on to all of the debts that are owed to us and all the debts that we owe to others. So when we die, why do we die? It was a seed in the eighth consciousness that was ready, that came ripe at that time. When something wonderful happens, when we meet our teacher, for example, or discover our career in the future, the thing that's going to carry us through our lives, that's all waiting in our eighth consciousness from deeds in the past. Furthermore, every single deed that we do right now is planted for our future. So in this instant, we are creating our future. We are the architects of our future based on what we are planting in our eighth consciousness right now. That's this whole idea. I mean, yeah, that's skandas. See how powerful they are. I had this awareness. I didn't have the theoretical framework, but I had the experience of bowing on the highway during a pilgrimage that I took. And I was bowing for hours and hours and hours, 8 hours a day, slowly, in silence, not talking. So as a result of doing this single yoga activity every day, slowly bowing to the ground while reciting, I was not doing other things with my senses. I was not talking with anyone. I was not reading a magazine. I was not, engaged in other kinds of input through my eyes and ears, nose, tongue, body, and mind. Simply focused. And occasionally I would bow down, and suddenly a memory would flood my entire sense apparatus. Not just a memory of having done something, but the temperature, the blush of embarrassment, the feeling of shame, the sounds, the words, and then I would stand up and I would be back bowing on the highway. Where did that come? Where did this Technicolor 3D memory come from? And only after I read the Buddha's description of the eighth consciousness and the seventh consciousness and the sixth consciousness did it make sense to me that maybe I was playing back these sense seeds. Maybe I was quickening karma by bowing and repenting. I had the experience of sitting in meditation in a small Soto school Zen monastery in Kyoto, Japan in 1969, sitting facing the wall for 7 days in silence, and my mind was busy spitting back every piece of music that I'd ever listened to in my 19 years alive in this body. I went, and I couldn't stop it. I went through all the Broadway musicals. I'm sitting here, knee to knee with these Japanese Zen meditators with the incense in the air and Uchiyama Roshi over there watching us all meditating. And I'm going, playing back the Fantastics. Try to remember the kind of September when life was slow. I'm like, oh, no, please stop. I'm not supposed to be doing this. Is this Zen? Am I doing it wrong? Try to remember. Playing back, because why? From the time I was 14 to the time I was 17, I was immersed in learning Broadway musicals to put them on stage. I was an actor. And so I learned all these soundtracks, And there they all were, and they were playing themselves back for me, one after the other, seemingly as if tapes were being punched on a tape recorder. And I had to empty out my tape library before I could get to a place of a little bit of stillness, an instant of stillness, packed in around Blatt's beer tastes great wherever you go, smoother and fresher, less filling, that's clear. Blatt's is Milwaukee's finest beer. Why? I was a baseball fan on TV, and I watched baseball game after game with all the Blatt's beer ads from Milwaukee. And there they were in the middle of my Chan meditation, playing themselves back. Now, if the eighth consciousness doesn't exist, where did those come from? Oh, it's just a memory. Yeah, well, where does memory come from? Well, and why is it so fresh and so perfect with every note? And I could hear, what was the Detroit, I was a Detroit Tigers fan. Mel Vernon, what was the name of the announcer? There was a famous Detroit Tigers announcer who got his name, I can hear it to this day. But so, now, people who study psychology may say, that sounds suspiciously like Carl Jung's collective unconscious. Is that the same thing? Somebody might say. Good for you, you're making connections. Probably not. But Jung was investigating the human mind. And he was close. He was also, interestingly enough, interested in Buddhism. He never found a meditator who was able to unpack this. In German, Swiss Deutsch, Jung was Swiss German. So if only Carl Jung could study the Avatamsaka, he would get excited. And he would probably come up with something similar to his theory of a collective unconscious, that there are ideas and archetypes that are shared universally. Is that the same thing? I don't want to. That's certainly worthy of somebody's MA thesis. But look at how the Buddha described it 2,500 years ago. He said that a Buddha, what's the difference in a Buddha? A Buddha is ye, jin, qing, kong. Karma ended, emotions emptied out. So what's different between me sitting here today talking in English to you, listening in English, and our Chinese translation, and our Vietnamese translation, and on Zoom and on YouTube? The difference is we are not ye, jin, qing, kong. We still have lots of karma, lots of seeds in that eighth consciousness, and our emotions are still rolling and strong and able to be triggered. A Buddha is a human who has worked with his 5 skandas over and over to the point where he has sat still as those seeds played themselves back. Those seeds came ripe, came to fruition, and went away. He ended his karma, except he didn't. Interestingly, the tales of the legends, the stories of the Buddha's life say at the time he became a Buddha, he still had 3 karmic debts to repay. He had killed fish. He had prevented a cultivator, a yogi, from getting food. And the third one, I don't know what that third one was, but the Buddha had 3 karmic debts to repay, and he had to go through them after his Buddhahood. So he had a headache when he hit a fish with a club to kill it. He had a headache as a Buddha. He starved for a summer because he had prevented another cultivator from getting the food in a past life. There was a food that was destined for him, and there was a third one. So, ye jin, qing kong, emotions transformed, emotions unpacked. So the Buddha couldn't be triggered by fear or by love, as Mara found out when he tested him under the Bodhi tree. So, there you go. Interesting theory, huh? That this eighth consciousness is there functioning. So, skandas, time to review. Are we ready? Let's look at our verse first of all. Here we go. Share my screen. Do that. Here's our verse. The realms of living beings exist amid the three periods of time. All beings in the three periods of time exist entirely amid the five skandhas. Skandhas take karma as their basis, and karma takes the mind as its basis. And the mind, the things that occur in the mind, they're like illusions. And everything in the world is the same way. Nice verse. Says, there we go. That's praise worth digging into. So what do? We comment here. Photos. There we go. Okay. So, thanks, Jerry. What our Bodhisattva's forest of strength, forest of power, he wants us to appreciate the skandhas which make up who you are and what makes you different from me. What is it? What is it that makes up a person? A body and a mind. Well, what's the body? The body is earth, air, fire, water. Every being in the past, every being alive now, every being to come will also be in a body, no matter whether it's a kookaburra or a perch or a goldfish or your grandmother. They have a body made up of these same elements in different combinations. Ghosts don't have those bodies, they have just energy, but they still have skandhas. The mind, what are they? What is it? Feelings, thoughts, activities or processes, and then consciousness. Those are the skandhas. When we are born, we get a new set. When we die, we leave that old set behind. The skandhas are simply functions, and there's nobody home there. They are not yours. They are not mine. They don't exist other than to cradle and carry and serve as a vehicle for the karma that results from the deeds I do. They're illusory. They don't really exist except while I live in them. And when I'm gone, when I'm no longer in this body, they go back. The earth, the air, the fire, and the water go back to the earth element, the air element, the sun, and the oceans. Go back. We recycle. The skandhas get recycled. The mind, there was nothing tangible there. My feelings are real, but you can't name them. You can name them, you can't grab them. And they're gone. They're illusory. And the Buddha says, or the Bodhisattva says, the whole world is that way too. At its end, after the fires burn it, where'd it go? Okay? Cool. Boy, the skandhas. This is so useful, so helpful. To get this piece of Dharma and then apply it, it's just suddenly like, I'm thinking differently now. That gave me a way to reorient my whole sense of me in relationship. Every relationship we have, from our spouses to our best friends, to our parents, to our dogs, our pets, has the skandhas at work. And the skandhas of a dog are 四受想行识, body, feelings, thoughts, activities, consciousness. Same as your parents, same as mine. How do we relate in those functions that are these heaps? And I keep using the word skandha because the English words are not as useful somehow. I used to say components because everybody who is my generation probably had a stereo hi-fi. What are the components? The turntable, the amplifier, the speakers, the needle that touched the record, and the 33 1/3 or the 45 RPM. Those are components. Take one away, take the needle off the turntable, and there's no music, right? Put it together, music, because of the components of the stereo hi-fi. What do we have now? Well, there was another period when we had desktop computers. Remember, this is back in the 2000s. And what did we have? We had the CPU, the chip. We had the computer itself, the desktop unit. Then we had a monitor. Then we had a keyboard. Then we had a mouse. Then we had a printer. Then we had a scanner. And we had a modem. Those are all the components of this experience called computing. Take away the CPU, and it's just expensive hardware. Take away the software inside it, and can't use it. But together, you put it together, and you have, computing. Oh, I'm going to read my email. Oh, I'm going to process this photo. Oh, I'm going to watch a movie, right? Because of all the components. All right? So how do we translate skandhas? Components, computer peripherals, the CPU and the peripherals, right? Nowadays, what do we have? We got this thing, and this requires, what does it require? Wi-Fi, broadband, before the phone lights up, before you can use it as to send your email, to read to watch TikTok, to post to Instagram. And yet it's still made up of components. The skandhas are the same. We come to life and run amok or benefit others. We serve, we are generous, we are kind because of the skandhas. We are nasty, we are stingy, we are mean because of the skandhas. It's how we use these functions. These are simply functions that the Buddha said, yeah, you got them, body and mind. If you don't remember anything else, just remember those two, body and then the four functions of the mind. That's the skandhas, that's who we are while we are in this set of skandhas. But you know what? There's one more piece that we haven't named, which is that animating thing, the invisible kind of ghost inside the machine. Deus ex machina, right? So what is that thing in there? What is that? Well, the Buddha had something to say about that too. And we will get to it next time. What's more, I've got something here that's too wonderful. It is very cool. It is, oops, not that one, thank you. Save you. It's this one. Someone whom I pay a lot of attention to, his name was Qingliang Guo Shi. His name was Chengguan Fa Shi. He's a Tang Dynasty monk. Composed something called the Wu Yun Guan. Got to make it bigger. Eeps. One more time. There it is. 30, yeah, big enough? Okay, there it is. So it was called the five skandhas contemplation by Chengguan Fa Shi, Tang Dynasty monk, lived in the 9th century, wonderful monk, 8th century. He wrote this way of looking at the five skandhas, which totally can take us to enlightenment, take us to liberation, if we understand it. And he wrote it as a Q&A. It's a dialogue. So it starts out by saying, 凡夫之人欲求解脱，当云何修？答曰：当修二观。二观者何？一人空观，二法空观。He said, once an ordinary person, once anybody, in other words, Mr. Normal, John Q. Public, wants to gain spiritual liberation, how should they do it? His answer was, cultivate two contemplations. Which one? Contemplate how people are empty, contemplate how dharmas are empty. That'll do it. That'll take it to nirvana. And then he unpacks that. Just like who? When the Bodhisattva Avalokiteshvara was contemplating, coursing in the realm of Shingshan Bora in Prajnaparamita, Guanyin Bodhisattva looked down from on high, saw the 5 skandas, and said, they're all empty. Crossed over all suffering and difficulty. All right, there you go. That's next week. Furthermore, we're going to talk about the skanda demons. Oh, the Shurangama Sutra gives us the 5 skanda demons chapter, which is a teaching that the Buddha wanted all of us to appreciate once we start down the road of samadhi, because that's a necessary awareness of things that will happen as you cultivate that are natural, but really you need to be prepared for them, because they can be kind of scary. It can go wrong. So looking at a monk known as Master Empty Cloud, Xu Yun Lao He. This photo was taken when I believe he was 118 years old. And he never ate a McDonald's hamburger. Point that out, or any hamburger. So we're going to talk about him later. Something I wanted to share with all of us. Let me stop sharing my screen, and I'm going to go out and bring in something I want to share. There's a story that you all need to know about, which has to do with Buddhas. Oh my goodness. Yeah, there we go. Okay, story goes like this. We have been developing Redwood Vihara, the new Chan monastery called Hongmu Chanlin, down in the Santa Cruz Redwoods, property that was acquired by Master Shenhua years ago, decades ago. And recently, through the hard work of the monks at Berkeley Buddhist Monastery, has become a training place for young men who want to ordain or who want to train. Ordain is in the future. They want to train in a Western context, using English as primary, and people who may not have a deep connection with Chinese culture or Chinese language, but still want to go forth. And we rely upon Chinese language and Chinese culture, but if the Dharma is going to take root in America and create new monks and nuns, or Australia, or anywhere, not everybody is going to be fluent in Chinese or able to negotiate Chinese culture, which has been the case so far inside of DRBA. And so we're creating a context where Chinese is essential, but English is primary. That's the idea. Ceremonies, food, work, relationships, day-to-day, those things. Those are done with English as primary and Chinese as the support, instead of the other way around, which is also significant and important way to ordain so far inside of DRBA. Master Hua, his vision of bringing the Dharma to the West for Westerners in the last couple decades has been primarily based in Chinese language and culture, and this is time for us now to return to his vision of bringing the Dharma to Westerners. So this is the place where we're experimenting with exploring, you could say, with how that could be. And it's taken various forms. And one of the things you need, certainly, is Buddha images. You can see right behind me there's one Buddha by Rochana, and his 2 primary attendants, Samantabhadra and Manjushri, Bodhisattva. So we have been developing the Redwood Vihara, and what just happened, in fact, yesterday, was the installation of Buddha images from the Berkeley Buddhist Monastery Ming Dynasty Buddha images got carried down. That was today, says, Jin Chuan corrects me, that was today. So Jerry, our faithful, tireless SysOp, putting this lecture online today, is a photographer and took some images earlier today. So these are fresh out of the camera. These are hot, these images. So take a look. This is Redwood Vihara approaching with autumn colors in Northern California. And this is the bridge across. Lovely. Nice. Moss on the redwoods. Old leaves. Okay. There's all colors. Image to focus here. Yeah, nice. All right. These are the Ming Buddhas in the new Buddha Hall at Redwood Vihara. Trying to blow them up. There we go. Zoom. Just installed. This is our Burmese Buddha image, which stand behind them. It's very nice. Look at those. Oh boy. Here they are. Okay. Moving forward. Let's see now. There we go. Here they are. Yeah, these images are powerful. Ben, can you see them? Is it better here? Okay, there you go. Aren't those amazing? They've been in the world for 400 years now. And taking their lumps, you can see these, they're not in perfect shape because in their 400 years they have been, they've seen some rough treatment, but they didn't lose any of their energy, their majestic qualities. These are wonderful Buddha images. Yeah, there you go. From the Ming Dynasty. We got some comments here. These are, okay. Oh, network problem. Network in red, okay. Huh, interesting. Maybe it's the, yeah, oh boy. There we go.
So it's okay now.
Okay, good. Yeah. Here's the Buddha on the other side. These are very special. And we are truly blessed to have these images be there at Redwood Vihara to guide and inspire all the meditators who will be coming through that monastery. These are super images. Really appreciate it. And it's good timing because they're fresh. These are today's images. Alrighty. There we go. Now, I need to share another, here we go, story from Good Karma Music. Miao Yin down in Melbourne, Victoria says, I've been taking my kids to a local Buddhist temple to do volunteer work when time allows on the weekends. The kids are enjoying the friendly atmosphere and the people in the temple are very kind and helpful. I hope doing this can enlighten myself and my kids to learn more about the meaning of Buddhism and to share love and kindness with others. All righty, that qualifies. Please take some music along and share that. This is from dharmaradio.org, Good Karma Music. encourage people to go out and find. Let's see, we'll do it right now. You're going to say, we've seen it, Dharma Master, don't do it again. Here we go. dharmaradio.org. There it is. Stories and Songs of Awakening. Go out to Good Karma Music. Click on the link. It will take you here. Do a good deed. However you decide, however you define good deed. Type it in. Tell us what you did. Share your good deed in the questionnaire below. Send submit post. We will give you your pick of Dharma Radio music, Songs for Awakening, Paramita, Buddhist music, Father Cyprian's Spirit in the Cave of the Heart, Brian Conroy's The Light That Never Dies, Buddhist Stories. Okay, and then everybody gets to read your story. Greg from UK, I let a person who lost his bank card and phone use a computer to disable and erase them using local computer. I save money and donate to others for the sake of preserving Dharma. Good for you. That is indeed a good deed. All righty. So there we go. Okay, let's see here. I saw that Jin Chuan's computer was on. Do you want to tell us what's happening, Jin Chuan?
Sure.
Okay. The Buddhas look just great, by the way.
Yeah, they really just fit perfectly. Jingwei was just saying how we put the Buddhas there. Nothing felt like it changed because the Buddhas feel like they're just supposed to be there.
You're supposed
For
to
a long time.
They've been there for a long time already.
Yeah.
Oh, you've been here for a long time already.
Yeah. Oh, for anybody who was worried, I got something before you tell us what you want to tell us. I've got one more to share, which people are going to say, what about Berkeley? Well, Berkeley looks like this. What's wrong with that? That's the Berkeley Monastery today. Amitabha in the back, Shakyamuni standing up, the three Tathagatas on the main altar looking very happy like they belong. And the three Ming Buddhas who used to be there as up to yesterday have now moved down to the Redwoods. So that looks just fine to me. I like that. That's, Ben, when you visit, you can see that altar, right? Okay, there we go. So we got Berkeley Monastery website up. What's the story?
November 4th to the 7th, we have an Amitabha session. I'm sorry, 4th to the 6th. So Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And you can register for a Zoom link or join us via YouTube. We plan to transmit the 8 precepts on Friday morning from 8 to 9 a.m., followed by Amitabha recitation. And for the rest of the week, we will start at 8:30 a.m. With the recitation of Amitabha Buddha's name for the morning, and in the afternoon from 12:30 to 1 and 2 to 3:30. As you can see all the text there, as easy reference to join in. And if you would like to put up memorial plaques, you can click the register for memorial plaques here. And we ask each person can put up 2 memorial plaques for attending the session. So please join us. And if you have somebody you care about, which you would like to dedicate merit to, it's definitely a wonderful way to practice with the community and, you know, share this goodness with others that could definitely use it. Next one is the Mountain Path online screening, November 1st, so coming up very soon, about 10 days. This is a new film by Ted Berger called The Mountain Path, and he's revisiting some of the old footage he had about going into the Zhongnan Mountains to see Buddhist hermits and learn about their cultivation. And at the end of it, Reverend Heng Sure and the director, Ted Berger, will actually have a discussion. So it's a chance to not only watch kind of the ancient monastics and cultivators of the past, but connect it to current times.
Also connect to the roots. of our traditions as well.
Yeah, very much the roots of Rota Vihara. We're right now at Rota Vihara, and so there's definitely a feeling that this.
Did I showed the trailer last time, I think, right? Did you all see the trailer? We did, yeah. So the Ted getting on the train and going out on the bus and then finding his teacher, yeah. Okay, continue.
There's still an online series of talks going on. If you scroll down, we can see what the next topic is tomorrow, October 23rd.
Dr. John Vu, yeah.
John Vu talking about, I think, is there life after death? So,
This is improved.
yeah, you're wondering, I wonder if there's life after death, which is an important question because if we do have a life after death, maybe we want to prepare for what happens after we die.
Is there a new set of skandas after I cash in this set?
And what determines my life after death? Good question. So you can come and listen to Professor John Vu on the CDDB Live YouTube channel.
Right. Here it is. It's 7:30 p.m. Pacific time, 12:30 p.m. Tomorrow here in Australia, 10:30 in China, Taiwan, Singapore, Hong Kong, Malaysia, Vietnam.
So other than that, I think most of our activities are the same. People are still welcome to come for our reopening the monastery on Thursdays and Fridays. We're exploring opening up the Tai Chi as well on Monday, Tuesdays, and Thursdays. So please stay tuned for that.
Okay.
But other than that, I think our schedule is about the same.
All righty. Thank you for that. And Jerry, appreciate the photos. That was
Those are amazing photos.
Amazing
that was a treat. The hands, those hands in Chan, that's boy, that is so distinctly Chan Buddhist. That's different from the yoga hands. Yoga hands, they do this kind of thing, on the knees. And Chan says, no, link your energy, put it together. So yeah, beautiful photos. Okay. Well, by golly, the time has come. We're now, it is raining hard here today. I've been watching the rain fall constantly, and it makes for beautiful greenness. I probably shouldn't give you, I'm tempted to turn the computer, but I'll probably knock a microphone off. So, the problem with that is the ground is already saturated here, and people do not need more rain. I got my notice, I have an automatic alarm that our local dam is releasing water downstream, and that happened this morning early. Heng's Dam is full. So we will be following stories for the next week about people who are flooded out for the third and fourth time. So it's too much water in California dry. So good reason to transfer the merit using our Medicine Buddha mantra to asking Medicine Buddha to forgive us once more for our lack of responsibility in keeping up our end of the deal between Tian Di Ren, heaven, earth, and humanity. Humanity is falling down. We're pumping the air full of greenhouse gases, and the result is we've broken the weather. So it's raining too much here, it's raining not enough there, et cetera, et cetera. If we ask Medicine Buddha to be kind and forgive us, Wei Yuan Sibei Chui Jia Hu, please be kind and give us some aid. Here's one way to do it: chant this mantra, whatever you would like to ask for. This is a good way to do it, particularly health of yourself, your body, and the planet. Ready? Join. It works when you make a vow. Om Namo Bhagavate Vaisajya Vaidurya Prabharajaya Tathagacaya Arahate Samyak Sambuddhaya Yata saji, ai saji, ai saja. Samukate swaha. Bhagavate ai saja. Vaiduriya Prabharajaya Tathagata Arahate Samyak Sambuddhaya Yata Saji Saji Saja Samukate Swaha Namo Bhagavate Saja Vaiduriya Prabharajaya Tathagata Arahate Samyak Sambuddhaya Yata Saji Saji Saja Samukate Swaha. We can bow to the Buddhas. Here we go. Bow in respect to the Venerable Master. So, my gratitude for all the help in putting this lecture on. Look forward to seeing you all next week. That'll do it for us for today. Amitofo. Bye-bye, everybody.